Welcome back to the Purpose Podcast. My name is Travis Holton. I'm a man of action. I walk with growth, honor, and faithfulness. I'm a warrior, ignited with purpose from the One Most High. I'm here with my beautiful wife again. I just love whenever we get to do podcasts together, and she just really gets to really pick my mind, and she will tell me how it is. I know how she is. That's just how it is. It doesn't matter whether I'm doing something good or bad. She's always quick to communicate with me and tell me what I do really well and tell me what I do really bad, and she really holds me accountable. And I think I love that about her, and that's really what we're going to talk about today is communication, and really like the art of communication and building relationships, and how honestly that you can really build people up, and you can really bring people down just from the way that you present what you're saying to people and how that you say it and your tone of voice whenever you say something. And I think, that's kind of what we're going to talk about and touch on. You have anything to add to that?
No, I think you hit it pretty well. Ready to pray us in and
I'll pray us in. Luke is going to be, he's over here. He's on my knee right now. I don't know if you can see him. He's ready for prayer today. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for just getting us to where we're at, God. Thank you for just another beautiful day that we get to walk this earth. And I just pray that you just use us to communicate to the people listening, and we just able to help them with something that they're struggling with, and just help them just unlock just their true God-given potential. And God, I pray that you just use us in order to just get your point across. God, in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas over here biting my fingers the whole time.
No, he's like, prayer.
Yeah, Luca prays with us every night.
Yeah, well, he tries.
He tries.
Yeah.
You want to get started with what you had to read?
Yeah, well, I have like what I think communication, like some key points of how I think communication is best, like when you're at your best in communicating. And for me, this is all going to relate back to the Bible and how we think like God and Jesus portray communication and what we took from that, how we've worked on that in like our relationship, our friendships, our relationship with God, and how we've bettered that. So the communication with humanity, just the way that God has so much understanding and he has so much time for people, listening is so important. I think he does this so well. I could do better at it. He's taught me, but listening I think is like number one when it comes to communicating properly. If you can't listen to somebody, you're never going to be able to communicate with them.
No, I agree. That's going to tie into the verse that I picked out later on.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, but I don't know. That's kind of how I started. I was quick to listen, more so speak growing up. So I think I just kind of adapted into how I am now. And sometimes I think I listen more than I need to sometimes. And I think that's a good.
In the beginning, for sure. Like when I first met you, you'd listen too much. I'm like, no, like speak back to me right now.
Which is good, because as you're listening, you can learn from everybody, and you kind of you know situations, and some people may not even know that sometimes because of how well that you listen. You just don't speak as much, and that's how I've always been all my life. Is I haven't been a man always of many words, but I've always been a good listener no matter what I was doing. I always wasn't necessarily smart in school, but I got good grades because I just listened and did all my work, and that's all it took.
Oh yeah, and that takes you far. I feel like the way that you listen, like you said, has like grown you into that person, and I think that's harder to learn than just speaking. So I feel like you've mastered that, and like now you're at a point where you are also speaking. So it's like that perfect balance. But I struggle. So like just sit there and listen. Like I struggle with that. So much harder to do that than to learn to speak.
And something I was just thinking about, like, what if you're in front of a mentor, and a lot of people would maybe not even be able to soak in all the information that their mentor is given, one, because they're not listening, but they're also like maybe not even be asking some of the right questions, and they just might even speak over him and not get as much value out of the time that you invested into it. So it's so important to, I think, listen and ask good questions to people that are around you, or someone who's just like walking in faith, and someone, and honestly, the more and more that I see it, the more and more that I understand it, it's the more that I've been able to pick up those certain people in my life. Like the guy, the structural engineer that came out the other day.
Oh yeah.
And at the end of our conversation, he actually he paid for my breakfast that morning. He's just super nice, super calm.
Just a guy you met from
work. Guy that I met from work basically just randomly, and he was just super nice, super calm. Like all the words that he used were very good. Like everything was flowed like water that he said. He was very smart. And I just knew. I told him at the end of my conversation. I asked him what kind of religious work that he does, if he's involved in a church, and he's like, yeah. I was like, you can just tell by the way that you present yourself and your actions and the words that you use and how you just walk and talk. You can just tell. Mm-hmm. And I think he really just he really valued me saying that. And he almost didn't even believe it. He's like, and honestly, I can see the same from you just by the way that you present yourself. Yeah. And that's how I got talking about the podcast, and he dropped me a subscriber on the podcast, and he was super nice, and he's awesome. Maybe we get him on the podcast one day. That'd be pretty cool.
That would. And then I have speaking truth in love, so I think that's super important. I think those two together, speaking truth in love, not just speaking truth, and then not just loving and just saying all the right things, which is nice, but sometimes it doesn't help people. And I think we kind of
we were talking about this kind of in the car a little bit, and I think if someone is struggling with something and somebody's doing something like you, sometimes you have to be able to speak the truth to people and tell them hey, you're not doing that right. You should kind of be doing it this way. And we struggle with how we were looking at it, I think, because I had my point and you had your point, and we couldn't really agree right in the middle about how we were using an example for it.
Yeah, I more so want to nurture, and you lead. You want to be able to not tell somebody they're doing wrong. Be like, hey buddy, let's help you get you to the next step. And I tend to fall on the other end of that, where I'm like, it's okay to be like that, but come to me and speak to me when you're ready to talk about what's going on.
But
and I feel like
even Jesus, whenever we talked about how Jesus was a leader a couple weeks ago, he spoke the truth to people, even whenever sometimes it really hurt other people. But he spoke it in truth because that's what they needed to hear in order to help them go to their next level.
Yeah.
And it depends on, one, how you present it, and two, the other person, how he reacts to, or he or she reacts to the information. Because a lot of people will take it negatively, but I'm like, look, if you just fix this, dude, you're perfect. You're golden. This is just one of those little pieces that you just need to fix. And if you get that right, you get it situated, you're good to go. And a lot of people take negativity what's the word I'm looking for?
We want
criticism.
We want to allow them to see hey, this is hurting you and or other people, but we don't want to tell them what's right and wrong. We don't want to be the judges of people. We don't want to be their rulers. We're not here for that. We're not here to condemn them, tell them what they've done wrong. We're here to say, hey, this affected maybe me this way. This has been affecting you. It's affecting you this way. It's hurting you this way, and I only want you to be better. And this just doesn't seem to be working for you. We talked about, and Travis said this, coming at it from a positive way. You don't need to come out of it with a negative tone or in a negative way and automatically bringing someone down. We said this with our dads. When you go to your father, you've done something wrong. You know you've done something wrong. So the last thing you want is for them to be like, oh my gosh, you've done this wrong.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, you want to
That's the last thing you want to hear. And that's why you almost don't want to call them and don't want to hear anything from them, because you already know that you messed up to begin with. And you already know, in your heart, that I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking of just now is a lot of people don't take, especially in this day and age, they don't take criticism very well. And a lot of people, so it's based on
and really, I feel a lot of humans have for me, I've done this too. Like, I take that, and I sometimes don't know how to, like, you can be on two ends of that spectrum where it's like too hard, you're being too harsh, and you're being too nice with like criticism. And I think that's what the struggle is, because especially in church, and like we've all been hurt by like people, especially the ones in a church and church people, and it's like those should be the people who understand the most. Like, hey, let's try to get where we're good before we're sitting there like telling people what they need to fix and trying to help them build them. And we'll never be perfect, but telling somebody, hey, like, don't do that, blah blah blah, is why people a lot of times don't fall to the church and don't fall to people in the church, because it hurts. They're hurtful. But Jesus has never been that way. God's never been that way. The Bible's never been that way.
With all that you just said, it's just a tough conversation, I think, to have with people. And it almost goes back to that Bible verse we were reading, and I can't remember word for word what it is, but it's like, how can you take a speck out of your friend's eye or your brother's eye whenever you can't take the log out of your own eye?
Oh, I love that verse.
He's like, at first you should work on taking the log out of your own eye so that you can begin to take the speck out of your brother's eye or your friend's eye. However it's worded, but
it's worded perfectly. Like,
it's worded really good. But just
good
thinking about that, and I love how, I'm pretty sure it's brother, and it uses brother really, really well, because it's talking about someone close to you. Because honestly, if you really deep dive into it, those are the people that you want to help the most. Those are the people that honestly you want to criticize the most, is the brothers and the people closest to you, because that's who you care about the most.
Yeah.
Then you want them to be perfect, even if like you want them to be as closely related to you as possible, as close. Like, if I'm doing something that, if I'm doing something really well, I want my brother and someone really close to me to be doing just as good as me. Well, me personally, I want them to be doing way better than me. I want to build people up, so in such a way that they're not just doing as good as me, they're doing way better than me.
Yeah.
And that's what would make me happy. That's the change that I want to be able to make, and I want to be able to see in other people's lives. And I think, honestly, like, most people is the exact opposite of that. They keep a lot of people locked up in this box, and they have their own mindset about this person, and every single time that they try to escape that box and they try to go do something better for themselves, that they're honestly just pulling them back inside that box, and they could never really leave because of the negativity that's like, brought in that person.
I don't think there's a harsh, like, I don't think they're trying to do that, but they can't see past that. That I just love you. I just want what's best for you. And it's like, sometimes you don't know that, and sometimes even the person doesn't know what's best for them. So, like, you need to let them and God figure it out. And I think that's when we, like, overstep our boundaries. I mean, even with, I think, just the way you were talking about that, Ephesians, which is one of the verses I have, Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So I think you just kind of hit that whole verse on the head with saying that, like, you want them to be better than you. You want to speak to them to better them, to, like, care for them.
But also give them what they need. I like the part that says, don't just give them some stuff. Give them exactly everything that they need in order to build them up.
Yep.
And what was the last part?
That it may benefit those who listen.
And that's another thing, is some people are hard. You can't help everybody. It's just, honestly, you just can't. Some people have to have an ear to listen and to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
For you to truly be able to help them.
Oh, no, you have to. And then, like, those people, you take a step back and you pray for them privately, because it's not going to matter what we say at the time. And we've all been at a place where we're like, okay, like, don't come to me with, like, this and this and this, and don't tell me how to live my life. And at that point, you're not ready for that. Like, someone could tell me, I'll give you $1 million today, you just have to do this. But if I'm not ready for that, I'm not going to be ready for that.
That's true.
So that's kind of how I see it. But my next point was, which kind of ties into what we were just talking about, words have power, and they can build up or tear down.
And not even just the words, but how you present them. And honestly, like, if anybody's ever read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think it's one of the best books I've ever read. Would highly recommend it. And just how you present some information to people in your tone of voice and can really affect the whole entire conversation and how you communicate with people. Because if you have bad news to tell somebody, like, I wouldn't lead it with bad news. I'd lead it with telling somebody that, honestly, like, something really good that they did. And then I'd come back and tell them something that they need to fix.
Yeah.
Because at first, it really lifts them up. I mean, it's sad that you have to turn them back down, but that's just how you don't have to.
The intention's not there to
The intention's not there to tell them down, and it kind of eases their guard.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, I mean, honestly, in most conversations that you have, just already have their guard up. So you have to kind of, break down that guard in order to have a really true, meaningful, and deep conversation with somebody.
Absolutely.
Because right now, I mean, we live in a world where it's honestly very hard to trust people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. Whenever we moved here, when we just instantly connected with a lot of people.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people who are not on the path of following God or have a relationship, and I think we were talking about that, this especially, words have power. I am very good with listening if I know that they don't have a relationship with God, because they are so much more willing to come back to me and be like, hey, what's your advice on this? Or can I pick your ear for a minute? What do you think of? And they know that I do have a relationship with God. That's never hidden. But it's the fact that I've listened to them and never judged them and never condemned them and was like, oh, you know what? We can't have this conversation. And honestly, they're so much more open. And you've had that with even I feel like with men, it's even more, because you take, not only are you helping them, but then they're stepping into their potential with helping them.
Yeah, just by seeing, I think just by the way that now that I am and the way that I just present myself and the way that I speak, and sometimes it's not even the things that I do, it's the things that I don't do. Like I don't cuss, and it's like these guys would be like weird whenever I don't say that, and they're like, we'll ask about it sometimes, because it's something that it's not something that a lot of people do. Like, you hear it every single day. Like, I'd say 9 out of 10 people, maybe even a higher 99 out of 100, I feel like people just cuss all the time.
I sometimes mess up in traffic. I sometimes mess up. But yeah, no, it is true. It's a norm.
And to see how nowadays a lot of stuff is, that's what I'm looking for. A lot of stuff is
worldly, normalized.
Normalized. Yeah, a lot of stuff is normalized. So to see somebody just walking in faith and really not cussing, not vaping,
I even
not.
Think what's even bigger than that is how many reactions have you got when you're like, man, I unfollowed everybody on Instagram that wasn't giving me something to learn from, to gain.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it nowadays is let me post even you said it's a lot of half naked this, half naked that, guys, girls, this, that, and he'll tell everybody all day long. In fact, I don't follow that anymore. I actually replaced that with sermons, Bible verses.
I think whenever I did this, I went from following, and I mean, you guys can go look at my Instagram, my actual personal Instagram account's Travis Holton _8. I don't remember. It's Travis Holton 8, something like that. You can personally go look it up. I'm pretty sure I went from following around 1,200 to 1,400 people, unfollowed everyone who wasn't adding value into Travis Holton and wasn't building up Travis Holton. I basically unfollowed him. I mean, I might have missed a couple people, maybe.
Right.
That's a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
But I was down to about 300, and then I went back and replaced probably about 50 of them, 25 to 50, with people's stuff that I wanted to be like, people who I wanted to influence me, that I wanted to speak into my life, that I like listening to, like Bobby Chandler.
No, we love him.
Steve Weatherford, Eric Thomas.
Good.
I mean,
yeah.
I like Andy Elliott. So I replaced them with people who I wanted to be like, who I wanted to speak like, pastors that I really liked, Keith Kraft, just all these different pastors that I really, really liked and I like to listen to and I like to speak. That's what I replaced all that with.
Which, when he texted me this, even I was like, what? What did you do? Because that's shocking. it shows like one that he takes action and does things that he actually speaks on, which is super important. But it shows a lot of truth behind what he says, what he does, and it shows that he is trying to get to a higher point. Like you're not trying to sit in the same place. You are trying to get better. You are trying to do like what you feel Jesus is putting on you to make you better, to hear things that are only going to grow you. Because at the end of the day, these things that we focus on and like put all our attention on are not building us up in any way. We're just stuck.
And it's so easy to get, if you ever read the Outwitting the Devil book, that is how he has us all trapped, is because all of us he has us all just like drifting through life and thinking most of the stuff that we're doing is okay. Like, yeah, it's okay to have half naked women on your Instagram. And it's okay to honestly just follow all those people. It's okay to just hang out with these same friends that, you know, you go out 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week and go out drinking at the bar. That's completely okay. It's okay to watch porn. It's okay to do all this. And a lot of people just honestly just get so caught up in that that they don't even think about, okay, well, how can God use me in these situations, and so I can really to better myself and honestly better the people around me.
Right, because those people those people are so powerful, like in what they have, they just don't know, like what you didn't know you had until you stepped into it, and you think it's like those things. I'm not saying these things like are the worst thing in the world. We're just saying that like there is so much more power in like helping and truly stepping into that and being able to lift people up and leave the earth knowing that like, man, did you know Travis? Like, oh, he saved me. He's helped me. I know where I'm going because of him. And like that's the biggest gift. Like even when you come down to like you might like to get gifts, you might like to give gifts. But I love giving gifts, like that reaction. So that's like the most powerful gift you can get is someone's like, you are the reason why I'm even willing to take the next step.
You're the reason why I'm even willing to listen about God. You're the whole reason why I even opened my Bible. I decided to pray. I decided to like I started a men's group, to be in this men's group just because I seen how you were walking, just because I seen how you treat people, and how different like.
And it's better. It's happier. Like you think in the moment, like, oh, like man, following God's boring. What do you mean I can't do all this? And it's like, it's really not. Like it's so much fun. Like we have so much fun doing absolutely nothing. I don't even know what we do. We do so much, but like we have so much fun not doing the things we used to do. And that doesn't mean, hey, guess what? If we wanted to go and line dance, then we'll go and line dance. Like no, God's like not put in there that said you cannot ever do this and go out again. Like if you want to go dance, let's go dance.
Yeah.
But we always take caution of like we want people to look at us and know Jesus, so we take caution with that.
But you can also look at.
That's it. Like I feel like it's just loving and like still it's having a good time, but like that's our number one goal is people getting to know Jesus in God.
And just being that person that's able to, that God can use to speak through you to help other people. And I think that's the most important thing, is because when I was doing all those things, honestly, like I wasn't a person that God could use. I mean, honestly,
right.
Like it took really building, shaping me and molding me into someone who could really be used as an example. And I think, now I think I am that person, and I'm getting there, and I'm far from perfect still. And I'll always say that. I mean, I've never been perfect. I've made 1,000 mistakes in my life, and I mean, I'll continue to probably make mistakes every single day, but it's taking those moments and learning from those every single day, because honestly, no one's perfect, and if someone tells you they're perfect, then I'm sorry, but they're definitely telling you a lie.
Yeah, seriously. Those are probably the most far from it. I used to think like, oh my gosh, like you go to school, I don't drink, I don't do this, like I'm good, like I'm what people think are perfect, good, or whatever. I never thought I was perfect, but like the good
Mm-hmm.
girl, like I'm good. I'm doing all the right things, and it's like that's not. It's just not the case. It's really not.
And
Like I was far from it.
it really doesn't matter where you're at in life. Everybody could use something.
Yeah.
Like even, I mean, people that you look up to on social media, I almost guarantee you they're paying somebody to mentor them. They're paying someone to help them out in some aspect of their life that they're falling short in.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be you right now. I mean, honestly, right now we're in a season where there's less than a month left until 2025. You should be looking back on the last 11 months of your life and trying to figure out what you did really well and what you did really bad, and evaluate that and deep dive into it and review it and figure out what you can learn right now, what you can do right now to better yourself and prepare for 2025 and get started right now.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people honestly don't do, and I feel like that's what's keeping this like almost like Groundhog Day. I'm doing I'm the same person next year because I'm doing the exact same stuff I did last year. Guess what? I'm still watching
It's
porn.
like that January, all right, I'm gonna be great, and then like February, you're like, well,
oh yeah,
we're back at it.
Yeah, I'm still doing all the bad habits that I did the year before, and I'm still that exact same person.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to not just say you're gonna do something, but to take action and just do it.
Yeah, and why it's so important again, because the people you surround yourself with do really help, and why like good communication is really gonna help those people, because it's hard to like break a habit, any kind of habit, eating candy, eating sweets, like any kind of habit you have, it's hard to break. But when you have somebody like when you have God, but then you have like even somebody like godly right
something
beside
that you just said. Let me just add this in real quick. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It takes 67 days to make or break a habit. 67 days, if you can throw that into consideration. So if you started right now, you really wouldn't break that habit until February. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's interesting. But yeah, just having that communication around you. I mean, when you have somebody willing to hold you accountable, but also willing to like love on you and like, hey, like I fell back into the bad habit, gotta get myself back out. Can you help me? You know, like support them. Don't condemn them. Bring them up. Let them find their true potential and keep pulling them more towards the side of God and what's right and what's holy, and I think honestly I feel like with that those people are going to learn to find God the best they can because of that. And I think, all right, my last point is understanding the context of a situation. So understanding where you're at, who you're talking to, like what should I say in this moment? Because you're going to react differently to someone angry, someone upset, someone happy. You're not going to say the same reaction to all three people. And what's going on, like understanding the context of a situation, knowing who your person is, which comes from listening to them, knowing what kind of feedback that you can give and how you can approach that. We were talking about this, like the different personalities. Everyone's a little different.
But I think it's also important to stay the same person. Don't lose your identity and who you are because of how someone reacts to something that you say.
Right.
It's okay to say something
That's
a little
good.
differently, to change your tone, to
understand the situation, but not let it change you.
But not let it change who you are, not let it
Yeah.
affect who you are, not let it get you angry, not let you
Right. That's good.
still be calm enough to be the exact same person that you always been, and to be like, look, God, honestly, I handled that. I know he was frustrated with me. I know he was yelling at me. I know he was cussing at me, but I still handled that the best way that I could.
Yeah.
I didn't get angry
Absolutely.
at him. I didn't yell at. I didn't yell back.
Don't match the emotions. Don't. Yeah.
And honestly, if you really think about it, that's how you de-escalate a situation. If someone's sitting there yelling, cussing, and talking negativity at you, like saying something bad, if you just like keep your same tone of voice, but hey man, I apologize for anything that I did, but I just don't like being talked to like that.
Yeah.
And then you just respond with something like kind, nice, and something completely different. I guarantee you, they're like, okay, like I've never heard that before. It's different. Yeah, normally when people would yell back at me and we just have a war, you know.
Yeah.
But You know what I'm
that's
saying?
a really
If
good
you
point.
come at it a different way and you keep a calm, cool, collected head, then I guarantee you that their tone of voice would just instantly change.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's super good to make sure you don't let the situation change who you are. I mean, that's so true. Understanding and because that can get tricky. I feel like in like sometimes you just want to like conform into like what's going on to get comfortable. But like what you said, don't get comfortable, but still understand your surroundings and their context, but be who you are. And yeah, that's good.
And with something that you said earlier, it was a point.
Yeah.
That's why I got out my notebook to make sure that I talked about it. The people that you surround yourself with, it's what I feel like I was hearing you say is to have a winning team around you. Have that winning team that's constantly building you up, that's constantly forging you, that's constantly helping you out. And they honestly, you're very celebrated. You're not talked down on, that you're celebrated in this group that you're around. All your wins, everything that you're able to bring them, everything that you're happy about in your life, that you are very celebrated and you're not turned down on and looked away and talked down upon.
Yeah.
And it's two completely different environments. And honestly, like sometimes you don't even really notice it because like I said, a lot of people, you just keep you trapped in a box and you don't even you don't even see it sometimes, but you're doing that exact same thing to other people.
Right.
Because you're like, you know what? Dang, that sucks that that guy got that deal and I didn't.
Right.
Man, that sucks that he's making more money than me. Man, that sucks. You know, that should have been me. You know, and a lot of people get so caught up in that they don't even celebrate that other person's wins.
Right, which you should, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important to have that winning environment and to build that winning environment because that is so much better than having negativity in your life all the time, 24/7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like that's kind of with us, like what we've, especially after getting married, like let's not do like the negativity. Like we're not gonna have that as a talk every day. And when we get down, we're like, man, but what can we show gratitude for today? Because yeah, like this really sucked today, but what do we have to be thankful? And there's so much. There's always so much more to be thankful for. But it's so easy to get caught up in the negativity.
It's so easy to get caught up in one bad thing or to have one bad day, and it's so easy to get caught up in it. I know I actually came home a couple weeks ago. I don't even remember why. This is why I'm thinking about it, is I can't even, looking back on it now, I can't even remember why it was such a bad day.
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened. I can't remember why it was so bad, but I just remember like I don't even know what I was doing. I cannot remember, but I just came home like had the worst day. And I like honestly just like brought it out on her. I brought it out on you, to be honest. And then you kind of calmed me down and like helped me out. I think it was kind of after we went to the gym together this day, and like it was after we kind of went to the gym, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I was so mean today, I was aggravated because of this and this. And after that point, and after I kind of got that off my chest, and we kind of worked out, and we're fine. Like we worked out, physically worked out in the gym, and then we got out of the gym, and it took me like kind of clearing my own head for a minute. And because in that moment, like, yeah, I was frustrated because I had a bad day because of all the situations, whatever it was. But now, honestly, it doesn't even matter. Like, obviously, I can't even remember it, but it took me kind of losing my identity for a minute and who I was, and getting angry in the moment, and I took it out on you a little bit, and I remember apologizing for that later on.
Oh yeah, and I think even with that, like, he's not wrong for getting upset sometimes. Like, we're gonna get upset, we're gonna get angry, we're gonna get frustrated, and that's okay. But I always remind him, like, we're a team, so it's okay to be frustrated, but let's like figure this out together. And let's make it better, like, because a bad day is going to happen. You're going to have a bad day. But he needs to know that, like, he's not in the bad day alone, and I'm not going to pile things on him when I know it's a bad day, or when, you know, you're, like, struggling, like, but instead come together as a team, and that's when you communicate and build people, like you said, having that good surrounding is so important, because I was able to talk with you, and you were like, oh, shoot, like, yeah, you're right, I probably shouldn't have said that, and we're like, yeah, well, it's okay, fine. Like, we're in this together, we'll get through it, and then we were fine. And that's how basically all our disagreements go. But it's a good point to, like, again, our communication, how it kind of all circles back to that.
To how we were able to communicate with people.
And then I have one other verse. I know you have a verse too. I have the Colossians 4:6. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. And I think I like this one so much because it really puts it into perspective that like you have a relationship with every person. Not everyone's the same. You're always going to be the same, but you're going to understand like the more knowledge and understanding you gain in the relationship you have with God, what you take from that and learn from that is going to put your relationships into perspective and grow each and every one of them more and more. So with that, like I feel like that puts you in a position to be able to communicate properly with everybody.
I like the season with salt. I don't really know why. It just kind of stood out to me.
You talked about that.
And the way that I'm thinking about it is like you can't use all the same words with everybody. Some people you might have to sprinkle a little salt in there. Some people you might have to tell the truth to, even whenever like the truth may hurt them. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes you may have to sprinkle a little salt in there, and you might have to kind of tell them something so that they can fix it, and that's what's going to help them. Like we said, like kind of go to the next level with what you're saying, but you still be gracious about it.
Yeah.
You still talk to them, because it is so much better, I think, to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong or they did something wrong whenever you start the conversation with, I just want to tell you this, and I want you to know this, because, listen, I just want you to be great, and I just want you to, this is something you could just be doing a little bit better.
Yeah.
Versus just telling them, dude, that was so bad. That was terrible. Don't ever do that again.
Right.
But hey, like I just want you.
Even asking them, like, I've asked you before, like, when I, like, maybe didn't understand, didn't know if it was best for you. I'm like, why do you think, like, this is best for you? Like, what is this going to benefit? You know, how is this going to benefit? Where do you think God's leading you with this? And it makes you think, like, dang, is this what's best for me? You know, it puts it back in your field, but it, like, because I don't understand and I might question some things, I'm never going to be like,
that's with like the business kind of thing you're talking about. I think that kind of be good to talk about real quick, because I think that's a good like conversation. I wanted to start a business, and she really thought it was because money.
Which is, and I knew he was doing it because he's like, I need to support my family. I want you to be able to stay home, and like I never want him to do it for those reasons. Like, don't do it because you think we need more money, that you think you're gonna fail as like a father, a provider. Like, I don't want it for those reasons. I want it because God's leading him there, because his purpose is so much bigger than starting a business for the money. And I knew that. I've always known that.
And whenever I explained it to her, I never really explained I guess like why I wanted to do it. I never really explained to her the vision. And the way I explain it is, now I'm running a little, like kind of men's prayer, men's Bible study, leadership, like call once a week. And I'm like, some of these people are literally trapped. Some of my friends, these people that I know, these people that are in this call are trapped working their 9 to 5. And how can I teach them how to run a business if I've never ran a real business for myself? Right. How can I teach them how to step into something different and become someone who can run a business and do these different avenues of work if I've never done that before? So my thinking behind it is, I was like, I don't even care if we give away all the money, if we give away all the profits. My whole thing behind it is, I want to say that, you know, I was able to, and God was able to use me to build that so that I can coach others and teach other people how to do that exact same thing. And she never really seen that. She thought it was just because of the money. And I was like, no. Listen, we can give away all the money. I don't even care. Right, it's not about that. Yeah. It's more about being able to take what I have learned from that process and what I learned in that situation and what I learned in order to build that business, because I think it's a very hard thing to do. And that's why a lot of people don't do it. And a lot of people are scared to do it. But if I can coach them and teach them and help them start and get everything kind of under the ground under them and take off running, then, I think it's just beneficial for them, really.
Yeah. Yeah, which is so true. And after I heard that, I was like, oh, well then absolutely, like you have to do it. There's no questions now. Like I don't care what we have to do. We're gonna do it now. But again, just came with like us communicating, and like we love, like we learn every day and we love it, and we're really I think we're in a really good place, but like we learn every single day how to be better and better and better at communicating. But I think communication's like key, like
Key to everything.
Yeah, like very much a key to relationships, everything you do.
It's communicating is even like the key to, I think, the key to everything, because honestly, the more relationships that you have, the more people that you know, the more, I mean, anything.
The more you affect.
Honestly, probably the more people that you can affect, the more money that you're probably going to make, because of the more people that you know, the more people that you have to teach you, the more people that you can learn from every single day. And it's so important, I think, to develop that skill of communicating and that skill of talking to different people.
Yeah, I agree.
You want me to read my verse real quick?
Yeah, I feel like your verse kind of like...
Because it summarizes everything a little bit, brings it all together.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be in James 1:19 through 21.
Yep.
Yeah. It says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires, so get rid of all the filth and evil in your lives and humbly accept the word God has planted in your hearts, for it has the power to save your souls." And I think it's so good because it's so true. A lot of people are quick to get angry and quick to speak and quick to say something wrong.
Me,
and then
especially
just
being pregnant.
And then just keep going along with that. And it just causes the situation to escalate whenever it shouldn't have. Whenever if you just took a second to listen and took a second to think, and even sometimes in tough situations you may even need to pray. You may even, that's why that identity statement's so important, because sometimes I might need to even remind myself who I am in order to take on a situation and to handle a difficult situation.
Right.
Because it literally says that anger doesn't produce any righteousness.
Nope. And that's the love how it ends with like save your soul.
Yeah.
Like it literally saves your soul, because it's so true. Like one little seed of anger's planted, and then you're bitter, and then you're hateful, and then you don't do anything with your life. Like all from a little seed that was planted because of anger.
I think you can honestly take that, the last part, and talk to it like about prayer too, because it says, accept the word God has planted in your hearts. And it doesn't say God planted a word for one person or two people or a select few people. He planted a word and a seed in your heart for everybody.
Right.
Everybody's capable of having that. The words from God, everybody's capable of doing that. Everybody is capable of praying over somebody. Everyone is capable of it. It's just whether or not you recognize it and want to use it. Because that, at the end of the day, is what he's talking about, has the power to save your soul, is speaking life into someone versus being angry and getting mad at people all the time. And that takes, this is another verse in the Bible that I'm going to have to write down on the bottom because I can't remember where it's at word for word, but it's like, it's Jesus talking about, you don't, in order to do some of the stuff that we've talked about today and communicate, it doesn't take a behavior modification. Like it's not something you have to change in your behavior. It takes a heart transformation.
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%. It starts in the heart, and if you can start there, you can start with a relationship with God. Like you're on the path.
Mm-hmm.
You will learn it. You will understand it. Especially like it. Sometimes, like we said, like it's so easy to get in that mindset of hate, anger, and just fall short of communication.
Envy for people, like I said, like with people, you may be out doing the exact same thing with somebody and they're successful that day and you aren't, and you almost envy them and you almost want them to tear them down instead of building them up because of how great they did, because they got something that you didn't that day.
And it absolutely should be brought up. Like honestly, people should be praised for their accomplishments, because life's hard and it takes a lot. And just because they're at a place where maybe you want to be, they have worked just as hard as you, and we're all struggling with something. And God has us where we're meant to be in the right time. And learning not to be bitter and like hateful, and choosing to see like the positive side of that, choosing to communicate properly, build relationships, have meaningful and true relationships. Like, nothing can affect you. And it's so true. It doesn't matter what people say, who tries to hold you in that box anymore, who tries to pull you back to
Because
where
you
you're
don't,
at.
it doesn't matter what they have to say anymore, because you know what God has planned for you, what He has built for you, what you know, the kind of person that you are. Like,
Yep.
you know who you're going to be, so it doesn't really matter what someone else says about you. It doesn't really matter what words they use. If someone gets angry at you, it's okay, well,
That's okay.
I'm still Travis Holden. I'm a man of action, all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
you
Well,
just
now
have
you
to
gotta say the
remind
whole
yourself
thing.
that. I'm a man of action. I walk with growth, honor, and faithfulness. I'm a warrior, ignited with purpose from the one Most High. And it's important to have that so you can remind yourself. When tough situations come up, or
And they will.
tough conversations, everyone's going to have tough situations to deal with.
Yep.
And I kind of talked about this a couple days ago. If you want to be a warrior, if you want to be a prophet, if you want to do God's work, if you want to do whatever you do in life, if you want to build a multi-million-dollar business, do you think if you pray for that, God's just like, okay, well, here's sunshine and rainbows, and here's a very, very, very easy path. It's filled with daisies. It's you got everything you could ever want. Like, no, if you want to be a warrior, God's going to put you on this path that's very difficult and very hard, and everything that you do is designed and put there, and every obstacle and trial is put your way, because so that you can become that person that God needs you to be, and that person that most of the time you're praying to be.
I feel like I want to like emphasize that, like, life's gonna be hard either way, and you wanting to be a warrior like makes you step up. And the thing is, like, the difference is, like I said, life's gonna be hard either way. The world's gonna be hard either way, but you have God. But you have God.
I wanted to read this because we're talking about it, and I'm like right here because I just sent it to one of my friends, and it's talking about the choose your hard. You remember that little poem?
Yeah.
And it says,
Which is good. It's good.
It says, being your best is hard. Being normal is hard. Making wise decisions is hard. Making bad decisions is hard. Being in shape is hard. Being out of shape is hard. Losing weight is hard. Being fat is hard. Working out is hard. Being weak is hard. Being disciplined is hard. Being lazy is hard. Getting out of your comfort zone is hard. Staying in your comfort zone is hard. Starting a business is hard. Working for someone else is hard. Making a lot of money is hard. Making a little bit of money is hard. Being rich is hard. Being poor is hard. Having great relationships is hard. Having bad relationships is hard. Having friends is hard. Having no friends is hard. Fighting in your marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. Having a lot of things is hard. Having nothing is hard. Living on purpose is hard. Living off purpose is hard. Doing life God's way is hard. Doing life your own way is hard. Everything is hard. Choose your hard.
Which I love.
Which is hard. It is so true.
It's so true. Having a relationship with God's hard, and not having a relationship with God's hard. So choose your hard. And at the end of the day, that's kind of where we're at in life. That those are our choices.
Those are your choices. You can wake up every single day and choose to be great and live on a purpose and do what God has called you to do, or you can do the exact opposite and keep living your same life and keep remaining the same and just be normal.
Yeah, well, that was good though. I mean, we wanted to touch on this because I feel like we like both look at each other and we're like, what are we gonna talk about? And it's like communication it's a big topic and it's a hard topic, but it's one that I do feel like we've learned very well, especially in our relationship and especially with God. We've both gotten to a point, and like one little story before we finish off is like so funny when you, in the beginning when we first met, and he was like, I don't know how to decipher, like, I had a relationship with God, but when's he talking to me? And then like you were telling me you were in the gym and like you heard like God, like he had headphones in. So I think you had like noise canceling or
Yeah,
something.
it was so weird.
You have to tell it because
I was in the gym one day, and I didn't even remember this until she brought it up. Thought she was going a different way with it. I had a lot of gym stories,
yeah.
and I'm in the gym, and I'm probably in the gym lift way heavier than I probably should, especially with no spotter, and I don't really want to talk to anybody or ask anybody for a spot. But I'm doing like incline dumbbell press, and this is probably right whenever we had that conversation.
Yeah, literally right
And
after.
I probably have like 110s doing incline dumbbell press. I mean, I don't look as strong as I am. I
He
promise.
does do it.
I can do them
He
for
does
like
do
6.
it.
And this day I was just feeling like a little weak, so I only was able to get like 3 or 4, and I started like really struggling. And I had my headphones on and everything, and I like so clearly just heard somebody say like, just so simply like, "Oh, you got this. I'm here for you." Like just something like so simple, just like that. Like, "I'm here for you. You got this." Like almost like encouraging me. And I heard it, like I got done, and I actually ended up like someone was almost spotting me getting those, because I told you I was struggling at like 3 or 4, and I easily got 6 after got the last 2 so easily. And after hearing that, I literally got off, took off my headphones, and like looked around, and there's really no one really near me. It's just me in this circle. So I'm like, that had to be God that said that. There's no one else who would say that and then just like run across the gym. And I'm like so vividly, and I had headphones on, so how would I even hear that?
Right. Yeah.
So it was like so vivid to me. And I remember telling you about that. I was like, I just had like this crazy moment.
Yeah, I remember you told me, and I was like, that's crazy because you just asked, like, again, God, like, how do I hear you? Like, I don't know how I'll communicate with you, but are you talking back?
And I think the best way that I've ever heard that talked about is it's like if someone calls me from middle school that I haven't talked to since middle school, and they called me on the phone, I'd be like, it's been 20 years. They talk to me, they could be saying anything, they could say my name, and they call me and I answer, and I'm like, I have no idea who this is.
Right.
I couldn't tell you this person's name. I have no idea. But if my mom were to call me, I'd be like, oh, she don't even have to say anything. I know it's
You
her.
know who it is, right?
Yeah, instantaneously. Yeah,
Could be a
she'd say
restricted
one
number,
word. She just
block
said,
number, you don't know.
she just say, hey, yeah,
Yeah.
from any number. If she just says, hey, I'd be like, oh, that's my mom. And I feel like that's the same way, because the more that you communicate, the more that you talk, and the more that you talk to God, I feel like the more that He's going to talk back, and the more that you can decipher what He's saying to you and how He communicates with you, and you're able to see that a little bit more.
Yep, and that like encompasses all your communication. Everything will grow from that.
100%.
But yeah, that's good.
You got anything else you want to talk about? You just want to pray and get out of here?
I feel like that kind of
Summarizes
summarizes I just had to give
everything.
that little story because I feel like that was a good like.
It's
funny because like where we started and like where we're at now, so it shows a lot.
And yeah, we came a long way.
Yeah,
That's for sure. All right, let's close this out before we get out of here. Dear God, thank you for this day, God. Thank you for your word today, God. I pray you're just able to use it just to help someone who's struggling with communication, that's struggling with hearing you, God, that's struggling with just in life itself, God, that they're able to continue to build relationships and to build people up. God, I pray that you're able to use everyone who can hear my voice in order to do your work, God, in order to help them build people up, to build new relationships, to help themselves go to their true God-given potential, but God, for you to use them at that point to help unlock others' true God-given potential. God, I pray you just continue just to watch out for us, and you just lead us and guide us where you want us to go. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Hope you guys all have a great day. Have a great week whenever you're seeing this, and tune in next week. We'll have another one for you.